Hey there, and welcome to Hempcrete Australia Podcast. My name's Jeremy Thomas from Environmentarian and the Hemp Building Directory. And in this episode, I'm chatting with Will Brain from Hempcrete Victoria and RespiraBlock about his innovative cast and block method, which dramatically decreases project timelines and budgets. So it's an amazing system that's really going to help Hempcrete get it more into the mainstream. Stay tuned for more info. Hi, Will. How are you going?
Hi, Jeremy. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No worries. So Will from RespiraBlock and Hempcrete Victoria, you've got those two companies?
Yeah, just to give a bit of an overview, I started Hempcrete Victoria in 2021 after hempcreting over in the UK, and I did a bit of research and realised that there was a hell of a lot more interest in hempcrete in Australia than there were people providing hempcrete services. So I came back and started a cast-in-place hempcrete business. And that's been really good. That's been going strong. I've been trying to meet the interest in hempcrete for Australia, except what I've found is that for the traditional cast in place method of hempcrete, it's in a higher price range because of the labour requirements and the logistical requirements and the mixing on site. So it's out of the price range of a good portion of people. So I started a company called Respirabuilt almost 2 years ago, where we integrate prefabricated solutions for hempcrete for people on a lower budget. So sometimes we do jobs as well where both companies are used. So there's a bit of a hybrid system that we've created that brings all the best bits from Hempcrete Victoria and cast in place hempcrete and all the best bits from a prefabricated hempcrete solution for the job. I think, we're going to talk about in question today that you went and had a look at, Jeremy. We did a hybrid system that's really suiting a lot of customers that want the beautiful feature walls that you get with hempcrete, which is the big draw card of hempcrete as a material. Obviously, the aesthetic of a beautiful exposed hempcrete wall is what catches people's eyes originally. But a good 1/3 of the wall build-up is prefabricated hempcrete blocks that sit on the outside. So there's a hell of a lot of benefits to a system, what we call cast and block. You've got cast hempcrete, and then you've got blocks. There's a hell of a lot of benefits that we can delve into if you want. But that's basically the reason for Respirabuilt to provide a cheaper option. And I'll just say one other thing about the company. A lot of people that have rang over the past number of years have rang not because of the ecological benefits of hempcrete and not because of the thermal performance benefits of hempcrete, but because of the human health element of hempcrete. So in our modern world, a lot of people are living in basically glorified Tupperware containers or concrete boxes where you're living in a building where there's old air, there's moisture caught in the building. You might have some kind of fungus or black mold growing, and sick building syndrome, which refers to the occupants, not the building, is rife. So a lot of people call me saying, my daughter's got a respiratory issue or we've got mold, and it's really bad in terms of allergies and all sorts of things. So Respira is Italian for breathe. So it's about having a house that's happy and healthy and natural and breathes, and it's conducive to a happy and healthy life. So that's the main reason for the company, really. The
health,
being able to provide that for all sorts of people. Yeah, I think it's very important. It's very important.
Yeah, look, people's health is very important, but they need to live in a healthy house, but a house that stands up and stays standing up, doesn't get burnt down. So the Mulua Bay house was burnt down in 2019 bushfires and was rebuilt in hempcrete.
Yeah, absolutely. And hempcrete's a great option, really, for those fire-prone areas. It's obviously one of those things that we talk about a lot, being in the hempcrete industry. But to the outsider, it's very surprising that a building made out of completely, the wall fabric is made out of a carbon-based life form of plant, plant cellulose, that it can actually achieve the highest fire rating. And that's due to a number of things. But yeah, it's perfect for, places where Black Saturday was, or whether it's King Lake or places where you can just expect a fire to hit. It's there's heaps of videos on YouTube you can Google to see people holding blow torches up against hempcrete where nothing happens. Conducted a fire test a few years ago for the UTAS project where they needed commercial fire rating for hempcrete, and we built a whole hempcrete room, and then they basically started a jet engine in the room for a good 25 minutes and nothing caught on fire. So it's pretty much as good as it gets in terms of
Amazing.
ability of standing up against fire.
And so that's the hemp block on the
Yeah.
outside, the cast in situ on the inside that wraps around a wood frame in this case, and then you've got the mortar inside the hemp bricks and the render as well. Everything there is all fireproof.
Yeah, I suppose I'll for people that don't know, I'll run them through the system of what we call cast and block. So a standard hempcrete wall. Hempcrete's existed for we don't actually know how long, but it got popularized in the UK and France around 30, 40 years ago. Standard is you've got a 300 mil thick wall of hempcrete. Within that 300 mil wall, you've got a 90 mil stud frame. That stud frame is completely encased in that 300 mil of hempcrete. The way that's normally done is that's put mixed on site with a pan mixer, so you've got a wet mix going on. That's quite expensive for a number of reasons, because you have to do formwork that's perfectly straight on both sides, so you need carpentry labour to do that. Also, you've got to put it in buckets and get it into the wall in that way, so it's quite labour intensive in that sense. When we're doing the cast and block hempcrete version, on the outside of the house, we're using a prefabricated hempcrete block that is installed just the same way you would install any kind of block or brick. You can use a bricklayer. You don't have to use any kind of specialized labor. You can just use a local bricklayer, really. So we send the blocks ahead of time. They arrive on site. The block layer, they come and they completely clad the outside layer of the house in the hempcrete blocks. And then you've gotten to lockup stage. So the blocks are there installed on the outside layer. The mortar itself is a proprietary mortar that we send with the blocks that is purely just lime and hemp. So there is an insulative element to that mortar as well. So you're avoiding what we call thermal bridging, where you've got a conductive point in a wall where you're losing heat energy or getting too much heat energy through. So that's the first part. You've got your timber frame, and then you've got the hempcrete blocks on the outside. Then we come and we bring the mixer.
With
we only have to formwork one side of the build. Yeah.
Brick ties?
That, sorry?
Brick ties?
Yeah, so we've got technical documentation to show how many brick ties you put in. So the block work is brick tied to the wall.
So it's not going to fall down?
In the same way you would brick tie. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just came back from a job where we had over 4 meter high walls with hempcrete blocks. You can actually go as high as you like with the hempcrete blocks. If you follow there's a few things that you've got to do, relieving load every now and again, but you do have to, you can go really as high as you want. So yeah, bricks are installed on the outside. They're brick tied to the frame. And then we only have to put formwork on the internal side of that wall. So you're skipping a lot of carpentry labour when you're doing that, because one of the most expensive parts of traditional hempcrete is doing formwork on both sides. Formwork normally on the outside is quite difficult because you're up on scaffolding, you're in the mud, you're in the elements. So you're avoiding that altogether by having those blocks there. Also, the fact that the blocks take up 1/3 of the wall area, which means you're doing only 2/3 of the mixing. So it does make it a hell of a lot more economical in that sense. It speeds up the build because the blocks are installed straight away. They're dry. You can render them straight away. And that also allows you to take the scaffolding down externally a lot quicker. And scaffolding is, over $1,000 a week rental. So there's huge savings even just there. Even savings with the builder. Like if you're getting a builder to build your house, the job is done a lot quicker because of these things, and builders charge for their time. If a job's slow, if a job's sitting there, they're going to put an extra premium on it. So it really does. What we're trying to do is get Hempcrete building to be more conventional. We're conforming to a standard building environment so that more people can take advantage of it.
Mm.
The other element is the team is simply smaller when you're there for the hempcreting process. So whenever we go and do a job with this cast and block process, I'm taking a maximum of 2 other people on top of myself. When you do traditional hempcreting, you probably need a team of about 7 to 8 people. You need a couple of form workers. You're doing more massive hempcrete, so you've got more people carrying buckets. The job also goes for longer. So I just finished a different job that, maybe we can talk about another time, but it's a very big job. It was the wall area was 300 square meters, and it would have been 80 cubic meters of hempcrete, or 8 tons of hempcrete going into those walls. And the estimate, if you're doing traditional hempcrete, would have been at least 30 days of on-site labor for a team of 7, which is a huge amount of time. With our cast and block process, the bricklayers came and they did it quite cheaply. It's only about $50-$60 to get the blocks laid. So it's not an expensive process doing that external block work. And then I came with one other guy. This is for the cast process. I came with one other guy, and then the homeowner helped, and he had a local labourer who was there off and on. And we did the whole job in 15 days. So not only did we have half the labour force every day, it also took half the time.
Amazing.
So it truly is a lot quicker.
That's truly
easier.
amazing, Will. Amazing to hear about this fantastic system, and got me thinking these blocks are dry already, but then you're casting the wet on the inside, but that's going to take less time to dry, less time to cure.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's helping speed up the process of the hempcrete drying. So because there's so much water when you're mixing hempcrete, you're using hundreds of litres of water a day. So you've got hundreds of litres of water in the wall. What we've found is that depending on the season, but also depending on a few other factors, where the windows are installed beforehand, hempcrete can dry really slowly. I had a job that was a passive house, and they had the windows and doors in beforehand, which isn't recommended because hempcrete dries really slowly with that. With this particular job I just finished, the one we're talking about, the large one, because of the blocks on the outside, and because it was relatively warm, and because the windows and doors weren't in, by the time we got to the end of the job, the room that we did at the start of the job was almost ready for the clear coat for the feature walls to go over it. So yeah, that's a big saving as well, because that means the builder can get back in and start to do all the internal walls and start off with the fixing process of starting with their fix.
Yeah, wonderful. It sounds like you've found the happy medium between getting that lovely seal of the cast in situ, the look of the cast in situ, but then speed up the process and bring down, in so doing, you've brought down the price significantly. I mean, the price is kind of offset by the longevity of the house and the minimizing of needing to control the internal spaces with heating and cooling. So over the lifespan of the house, it's definitely going to be saving money. And even I heard the payback is depending on the size of the house, 6 to 10 years. But with this, there's going to be a payback
Yeah, absolutely. And like as an estimate, it's probably going to cost about half of the cost, perhaps even less than half of the cost than it would be if it was full cast in place. There's also different options as well, where you can essentially just put hempcrete blocks for 80% of the house. You can put hempcrete blocks on both sides of the timber frame, and then we come and just do a feature wall, maybe in the lounge room, or like in a common area of the house. So maybe 20% is the cast and block system, and then the other 80% is hempcrete block, or what we call block and block, where you've got blocks on both sides. So there's essentially 4 or 5 wall systems that we offer, depending on the budget, the budget goals of the client. So we always try to get the best,
wonderful,
get the best for them. Yeah.
And with the block on block, You've got the mortar and the mortar lines, of course. Is that presentable? Would someone want to leave that sort of off form, or is it more a thing that you're going to
Yeah.
do a render over?
Yeah, if you tell the brickie beforehand, obviously, proper preparation. We I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm renovating my house at the moment, and I'm going to do the whole thing with exposed hempcrete blocks. And we think it can look really good. We've done jobs where we have done it to a feature finish in terms of the mortar, the pointing of around the blocks, but we have
Mm.
still rendered over it. We can also put an oxide in that mortar so that you can match the color of the blocks. So it doesn't have, a kind of like, because the mortar itself, when it hasn't got the oxide, it's quite white. You
Mm.
can tone it down and put a natural tone in it. The other option is, and the client for, again, this job that we just did, the big 300 square meter one, he has an internal block wall. And what we're going to do with that one is actually sand it. So sand the hempcrete blocks, sand the mortar, bring it down back to an actually exposed hemp surface, and then put the Muro bond on it. So you can actually have a good play around with the different features of that block work, in the same way you would with a traditional old masonry brick wall. The other option as well, because lime render can be a bit expensive as well, is we provide a lime wash or a lime paint, a natural lime paint that's only $6 a square meter for the supply price. So you can actually get that bagged mud brick look, where you can put a natural paint color over the top of the blockwork, which would look fantastic. But
Mm.
essentially, watch this space. In the next month or two, I'll have my house done, and I'll do a different finish in every wall. And if you're in Melbourne, sing out and come
Awesome.
and have a coffee, and I'll host you, and you can come and have a look
Definitely.
at
That'd be great.
how it feels in
I'm
person.
actually in
Yeah.
Melbourne for Hemp Connect in June. So I'll come and knock on
Oh,
your door.
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You come stay at
Um,
my place.
so with
Yeah.
the hemp blocks finishes, sorry to go back there a little bit. I suppose we do hemp aficionados like you and I, we love the different sort of hemp looks, that off-form hempcrete, whether it's cast in situ. I love the idea of having those exposed bricks, see what's going on, has that sort of rustic look or whatever. And if you match it with some crisp finishes like they do in the warehouse conversions, then you've got that nice balance. But if someone was going for more of a traditional house look with white walls, let's say, and pictures hanging up, is there ways that you can achieve that with the blocks? Certain detailing, places to stick pictures up.
Yeah. So you could direct fix a standard sheathing to the hemp block walls, like a plasterboard. We also have a hempcrete panel in the works, that basically is it could be stuck over the hempcrete blocks. Another option is you could put a magnum board over the top, which is essentially a vapor permeable lining board, plasterboard replacement that's vapor open, which means you could get a completely flat, clean, modern, standard looking finish, except it's vapor open. And what that means is that there's that moisture management going on that we're talking about at the start of the chat. In essence, most houses trap more moisture than we're
Mm.
evolved to live with. So
Mm.
there's a vapor drive effect where you're wanting vapor to leave through those walls. A modern plasterboard won't let you do that. It actually, people don't know this, but moisture cannot move through plasterboard. So Magnum board are a good option that allows the vapor to move through, and then you could have a completely standard finish in a sense.
So Magnum
But yeah,
board,
you
and
can
then
direct stick different boards to the blocks as well. Yeah.
nice. So the Magnum board sounds
In
great.
terms of
You can paint that.
yeah, yeah, you can paint it. You just stop it up in the same way you would standard plasterboard. It's got rebates around the outside edges of it, and you stop over the screw marks as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different finishing options available, really. We partner with Rock Coat, who have lots of different finishes as well for that the lime render or the lime wash, and also clear coat as well over the block. So there's heaps of different options depending on your design goals, and we just work through with people normally and work out what they want. Sometimes a mixture, sometimes you want one wall that's exposed hempcrete blocks with some lime wash on it, then there's a feature hempcrete wall, then there's a few that have just got, a standard board attached to it. So yeah, the world's your oyster really.
Wonderful. And,
Achieve whatever
it's
it is.
thanks to experienced people like you that, bring your knowledge from overseas and all the work you've done here in Australia, projects and projects and projects to be able to have all these options now because you've tested it all. It's all tried and tested and the buildings are up and further innovating is
Yeah, I think the one
on the
thing,
cards now, right?
yeah, I mean, one thing I noticed after working in the UK is they have a really, really strong understanding of that vapor permeability piece because they've got buildings that are 500 years old, 1,000 years old. Um, when a lot of building repairs were happening in the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, when Portland cement became popular, they started repairing buildings with modern cements and modern materials. And that's when they started to see those old buildings decay because you're trapping moisture. So there was a big renaissance in learning about vapor open materials and healthy building materials over the last 30 years because of the issues they saw and what with modern materials and what they were doing to buildings. So the main thing I know, like I started to learn all this information over in the UK and brought it back, brought back what I learned here in Australia, because we don't really have that knowledge at all in Australia. So it's a big important. It's going to be a big thing as we move forward in Australia. The understanding of vapor permeability and healthy buildings. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a slow and steady progress. And, if we can look
Yeah.
back to, 2008 when it was legalized to grow industrial hemp in Australia, and then 2017, the humans could eat the seeds. Then we had, drought and bushfire and all kinds of other challenges here in Australia. But really, considering that timeline, we're really moving along in the hempcrete world, I think, aren't we?
Getting bigger. And I think there's been a big spurt of growth over the last, I've seen even in just the last 6 months. The online communities aware, and we're seeing them just, grow like never before, really. So it's an exciting time. It's definitely hit some kind of critical mass, where hempcrete itself, is going to be more and more widely available and talked about as time comes.
Yeah. I suppose mentions in, grand designs and Zac Efron building his mansion out of it, and these kind of things get it into the chatter around building and around renovations and that sort of stuff. And the more we can talk about it, that education advocacy thing, the more chances we're going to build healthy, fireproof, bug-proof, great insulation, great sound insulation, hempcrete homes, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and there's lots of clickbaity kind of stuff out there at the moment whether it's Zac Efron's home or some rappers, building a hempcrete studio or, people making hempcrete Lego blocks over in Canada. There's a lot going on, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, great. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, Will. Awesome. I think we've learned a lot about, not just Hemp Block, about yourself, about, your businesses and how they're combining to give so many options to people that want to build with hemp, designers and, builders, or even Kirsty just mentioned that builders are now wanting to build their own houses out of hempcrete. It is getting into the builders' minds as well, and it's going to make it easier for everyone to build these kind of homes.
And one thing I noticed is no matter how dubious people are about hempcrete before they see it, basically everyone that's ever come on site and seen it that I've been on has become a convert, and that's the reason I do it as well. I thought long and hard before moving into the business, and there's a reason for it because it does tick a lot of boxes that a hell of a lot of boxes at once, really. So if you haven't seen one or been in one, go and Airbnb one or visit a site or, volunteer for a job or something like that. Because it's pretty amazing to see a house built completely out of a, plan, essentially.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got a couple listed on the hemp building directory already. So there are places you can stay in around Australia, and that staying in there was that hands-on look and feel certainly did it. But I must say, back to yourself. The legacy you've already got there, and just is amazing. And I suppose all the houses that are going up in the volume bills, that's not a lovely legacy to leave. But these Hempcrete houses, it's a wonderful legacy to leave behind. These sustainable, healthy, fireproof, etc. houses that are going to have minimal energy requirements moving forward as well.
Yeah, and there's builders that are seeing that as well. We have a job in 2 months. It's a bespoke house, but I wouldn't say a volume builder, but a builder in central Victoria that probably builds 50 houses a year. I don't know if you call that a volume builder, but they are essentially. I don't know if you'd say the early stages, but they've wanting to build a 10-house hempcrete development in the Castlemaine region. So yeah, it is edging on that stage,
Wonderful.
Of being in that volume environment. So
scaling it up.
Keep your eyes on, watch this space.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Will, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate chatting to you over there in Melbourne. And, when I'm down there in June, I'll hope to come and say hi personally.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. See you later.